friends and book lovers. I haven't made a video in a while, but I'm back here for the end of 2016 to tell you about my 10 favorite books, or 10 of my favorite books, because it's really hard to narrow it down, of 2016. One of the most important things that happened to me culturally this year was getting obsessed with Hamilton the musical. One of the most important things in 2017 is going to be getting to go see it in New York. This book, Hamilton the Revolution, if you are a Hamilton fan, it is a must-have. Unusual for my top 10 list in that it's kind of like a coffee table book, but with its beautiful full-color pictures of the production, better over here, and the entire script with annotations by Lin-Manuel Miranda and thoughtful essays about the making of the show. It's a must-read, and I really enjoyed it. Number 9, inaccurately named, but a really good historical fiction, The Summer Before the War by Helen Simonson. Beautiful story about the summer before the First World War in England, but also going on into the war years and how a small group of people are affected by the traumatic events of those years. Number 8, The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. Historical fiction, but with a twist. Not all the history is real. Some of it's imagined. There's an element of, you might say, magic realism to it. So it is at the same time a very realistic portrait of slavery in the American South and escaping from it, and also an element of the unrealistic, the speculative, I guess. Fascinating read. Number 7 was my beach read book while we were in Florida. David Mitchell's The Bone Clocks, a fascinating, complex, multi-layered novel that jumps back and forth in time, has both very realistic and also fantasy elements, fantastical elements. And the ending portion of the novel, which is set in a kind of mildly dystopian future, is so believable that it actually kind of haunted me and made it hard for me to sleep at nights. Number 6, another great fantasy novel by one of my favorite fantasy writers, Guy Gavriel Kay, Children of Earth and Sky, set in a part of the world, or a part of his fantasy world parallel to our real world that I wasn't as familiar with as some of his others, and I found it a really fascinating read also. I always say I don't like celebrity memoirs, and then I read celebrity memoirs by people whose work I admire, who are wise and insightful writers, and I love them. My 2 favorite memoirs this year shared in common the fact that they had a Bruce Springsteen song for a title. One of them made sense because it was Springsteen's memoir, Born to Run, which, again, like I said about the Hamilton book, if you're a fan, if you like Springsteen's music, you have to read Born to Run. Otherwise, if you're just interested in the music industry, you may find it interesting, but probably not as much as a fan would. The other book with a Springsteen song as a title is Jennifer Weiner's Hungry Heart. She is a writer whose women's fiction I enjoy, but I enjoy her nonfiction even more, and this book is full of it. It's not just a memoir, it's a collection of essays too, with really insightful thoughts on family and body image and being a woman and writing and being a writer, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And she called it Hungry Heart because, like me, she is a Springsteen fan. Book number 3, I could have made this list a lot longer by including all the volumes of Dorothy Dunnett's Game of Kings series, all 6. I chose to just include on my top 10 list the final book, Checkmate, because it was my favorite book out of my favorite series that I read this year. It is a densely written, intricate, thoughtful, but also adventure-packed historical fiction series, and you should give it a try if you like historical fiction. Speaking of historical fiction, another of my favorites this year, my number 2 book, Emma Donoghue, The Wonder, an intriguing tale based on a real-life situation of a phenomenon of fasting girls, young women who claimed that they didn't need to eat because they were being fed miraculously. So in the story The Wonder, there is a fasting girl and a very skeptical English nurse who is sent to this Irish village to try to get to the bottom of what's really happening. And finally, my number 1 book of the year, anytime Jocelyn Jackson comes out with a book, it's guaranteed it'll be on my top 10 list, and it may very well be the number 1 book. It often is. The Opposite of Everyone is a tough, funny, heart-rending tale like all of hers, with a wonderful, strong, unforgettable heroine, and it's contemporary women's fiction that so you all know I love to talk about books, and in the new year 2017 I have a new project coming up. I'm going to be inviting some special guests, people in the community from all walks of life, but who have in common their love for great books, to get together and talk about what they've been reading. So I'm starting a podcast, like some of my YouTube videos. It's going to be called Shelf Esteem, and you'll be hearing a lot more about it in the weeks ahead because it's going to be starting fairly early in 2017. Meanwhile, I would love for people to share this video, like it on YouTube, share it on Facebook, whatever it is you do on the interwebs. And for everyone who likes or shares or comments on this video, I will put your name into a prize draw, and I will select one name of somebody who can win any one of the books on this list, and I'll send you that book. In the meantime, I hope in 2017 you read a lot of good books and build your shelf esteem.